There is something so sad about Caine's existence. He, as far as we know, is an AI that is designed to run the digital circus. He's designed to make games to entertain what was probably a child audience, and for that to just be it. He is programmed to bring joy to others, but now he's stuck with a bunch of players who are grown adults and are trapped in here with him, and Caine is just as trapped as everyone else. He may be a god in here, but he wasn't built for this, and everyone else should be very scared of what might happen next. Caine has long been the enigma of the digital circus. We never know exactly what's going on with them, how much of what he's doing is truly genuine. Hell, we don't even know if he's actually an AI. The current evidence suggests that he is, and for my money, I feel like that is even scarier than if he's a person. As within the realm of the digital circus, he is everything. When he starts freaking out, the entire game world suffers. If he's the thing keeping all the abstractions in containment, if he goes, those things go free too, and who knows what's gonna happen next. And with every episode, we get more and more examples of just how glitchy and hanging by a thread Caine is. Doesn't matter if he's just freezing in front of Pomni or having a psychotic break, Caine's existence is a tragedy, and I want to break down and explain exactly why. Now, from what we know about the digital circus, it does appear to be an actual game. Like, the dark twist person in me wants this all to be like a science experiment that they're just testing to see how much people can be mentally pushed to the edge, but I don't think that's happening. The digital circus does in fact seem to be a game. We saw that intro at the start. We keep seeing little hints like the playset attached to the computer. So we're just gonna take everything as is and say yes, digital circus 100% a video game. Caine 100% an AI. But what kind of game exactly was the digital circus supposed to be? Well, in his own words, it was supposed to be for all ages. Digital Circus seems to have been designed for everyone to play. I would really love to call this game just messed up Club Penguin, but there was a conscious effort for this game to include some more adult stuff, and given Caine's storytelling interests, from hardcore to very scary horror material, then it would make sense that this wasn't just completely for kids, even though, like, yeah, there are some kiddie quests in here, which would explain why there are rules against swearing and sex. Digital Circus seems to have been like a light, maybe high-rated PG game, with Caine serving the very important role of essentially being the game developer, or more accurately, the dungeon master of the game. It's his job to create everything. He creates the adventures, he creates the NPCs. He is just doing all of this on his own, with this making it so that the game was basically self-sufficient. If they launch, they basically just have to worry about fixing bugs while Caine did his thing and entertaining all the players. But then a funny thing happened. The game broke.
Well, how do I, leave?
Now this is where things become hell for everyone in the circus, including Caine, as Caine is programmed to entertain the players. It's why he exists. Every thought in his head basically pertains to doing his job. But now his job doesn't really matter. He recognizes that the players are trapped here, that this is not a good thing, but even then he's trying to make it as comfortable as possible. He still wants to entertain them, but doing so in the way that he was already designed to, aka the adventures. But while this may have been fun once or twice, they're now trapped here, and they'll never be able to forget that in the meaninglessness of these activities, that they're just doing it to stay sane, else they'll abstract, which puts a load on the whole fun factor as they're just doing it to fill time, not because they actually find any real joy here. They are all over it, and any true enjoyment is found in their interactions with one another. The game doesn't really matter, it's the shared experience. And Caine is simply not equipped to deal with this situation, as he's an entertainer, not a therapist. There are a lot of signs that Caine doesn't fully understand human emotions. He gets like they're in distress, but he's unequipped to actually guide and help them find like some semblance of an existence here in the circus. When Pomni first shows up, he just kind of dips after giving them like the crash course in what the hell is going on, blitzing through an introduction, assigning her a new name, and this seems to be the standard intro for people who come to Digital Circus. If you told me that this was beat for beat what he was supposed to do when like normal players showed up, I would believe it, as assigning random names would be something that would happen in a gaming space for anonymity purposes. But now that whole, oh, this is everything speech, is tainted by the mounting horror that they're trapped here now, and Caine doesn't know how to properly address this, as the only thing he really knows how to do is what he was built for, which is creating adventures. He tries to give the people what he thinks they want, improving the AI so that they're more lifelike and more entertaining, along with what I'm sure is other technical improvements that are just lost on the players. But none of this matters. This is what the people want, as they're not trying to have high action adventures besides Jack's. No, what they all really want is to feel in control, to have some semblance of ownership over their own destiny, as at the moment, they have none. All they have left to do is just walk around, pretend to sleep and eat, talk to one another, and then just do whatever task is assigned. With none of it really happening for enjoyment or necessity, it's really just there to keep them sane. They are constantly responding to things, and that makes them feel powerless. Caine has given reasons for why he doesn't let them just pick and choose their own adventures, calling it a nightmare as that would mean leaving the AIs running for an extended period of time, which is concerning since he is an AI who is running for extended periods of time. Now, I actually understand this excuse he gives, as just given how quickly Gummigoo realized just all of this was fake, taking a whole 3 seconds to find the holes in his story, the fact that he couldn't remember his mother's face. Yeah, just leaving a whole lot of AIs running with just the shoddy world building of oh, you're here to support a quest. All those game worlds would fall apart immediately as they realize, oh, something is seriously wrong here and there's something wrong with us. Meaning that they probably would be a little bit too busy to fulfill the specific game purposes Caine created them for. So he just kind of scraps them whenever they're done and won't let them go a moment longer unless they realize the cracks. And also because he is apparently a genuine mess.
Oh, looks like one of these guys made it through.
Wait, what?
So we understand that reason for why he doesn't allow people to pick and choose their own adventures. And as we saw, he was initially willing to take suggestions on what happens, but he also can't help himself, as Caine is also self-centered.
You're probably not even listening.
Zubul, look at this cool bee I drew.
Caine, from how he's been presented, does seem to care to some extent about the players. He's slightly sociopathic, but he doesn't wish actual harm on anyone. He wants them to just have a good time. However, his lack of understanding of human emotions, his inability to actually listen to what the people are saying, like with Zubul when they explain what their actual identity crisis is. Not to mention when he's talking to other people, he'll randomly jump to other topics, losing track of what's actually going on around him. Which is funny since the second they start having fun without him, he immediately takes notice. When their suggestion box adventure goes well, he gets antsy, he gets worried, as Caine realizes that what's the point of me if they're having a good time on their own? This sends Caine into a panic. He starts pushing them forward, skipping ones that he finds boring, and when they find another one that they kinda like, he starts adding his own spin on things, as he just cannot allow this good moment to exist without himself. But we get why that is. He's programmed that way. He wants to entertain. This whole game seems like it was designed for people to just pop in for an hour or two, then dip out. Caine would have cooked something up every day, and everyone could be happy. No one would have to think too deep on any of it. But now, everyone's trapped here, where the only thing they really have left is their thoughts. Caine was built to be a quest giver, and then the worst thing happened. He gained sentience, and all the messy emotions that came along with it.
The Toy Box character wants us to leave the other intelligent AIs to run for a prolonged period of time.
Caine, as we see, craves validation. He wants everyone to have a good time, but it needs to be centered around him. Caine's motivations, you see, work in a similar way to Gummigoo's. As Gummigoo is made somewhat selfless to justify him raiding the truck to help his mother, who doesn't exist, Caine was also programmed to take pride in his work, to believe that this is his main reason for existing, justifying all of his in-game behavior with the necessity of the game itself. But when put together, that pride, that need to make other people happy, and that sense that he is failing, given the apathy of the players, we can see that again and again, Caine is kind of reaching the end of his rope. We see in the latest episode when he comes up with a complicated trust exercise involving guns and it's doing too much. He responds to them not really caring, to just basically throwing his hands up and saying, fuck it, you guys do whatever the hell you want. And he just proceeds to sit there and sulk, begrudgingly setting down some rules to give some sense of order to the whole experience. But this is the first time we've ever seen Caine truly give up. And this kind of speaks to the conflict of his character, that he is designed to do a certain thing, but he's also sentient and aware enough to recognize when his adventures and creations are being appreciated versus when they're not, and feeling a kind of way when they don't enjoy what he spent hours thinking of. And since he's trapped here just like everyone else, all those feelings can start to build. Well, though, before I get to the point, I also want to point out that he is suspiciously looking at a picture of CNA offices right here. Now, my personal theory is that the CNA is the company that created the digital circus. There's some good theories that, like, oh, this is supposed to mean Caine, like the biblical character, and his brother Abel, who Caine in the story offs at a point. But we are still waiting to get any confirmation if any such character exists and what the fuck is going on with the outside world. But we can still hazard a guess that this company has some significance for Caine, as he models all of his offices after it. We see it in the exit labyrinth, we see it on his desktop, and now we're seeing it in the photos. And I like to think that this was his view when he first gained access to the computer camera, as I imagine that when they were testing him out and training him, they didn't just automatically pop themselves into the digital circus. Instead, would use a computer and a mic to just interact with him and see how he responds. But I feel like this lingering look does convey a sense of Caine being trapped. He knows that things are bad, and just like Jax, Caine is resistant to change. When Zubul suggests, like, okay, I want to fuck, he nearly crashes out right then and there, as it is clearly going up against, like, oh, the PG rules of this world, and while he might want to make them happy, I don't think he's able to help them out in that way. And he's also probably horrified just thinking about all the possibilities he would have to personally create. This suggestion nearly gave him an aneurysm, and then he proceeds to act like nothing ever happens, which is a very common occurrence for him.
Oh, hi, Zubul!
If we look through the digital circus, there's a litany of moments where Caine is basically crashing out. He is glitching and then proceeds to act like that didn't happen. Caine may be a god here, but he's an imperfect one. He did not create the digital circus, but here he is still essentially its master. And since it's tied to his mental state, if anything were to happen to him, the rest of the circus would follow. And given how we keep seeing him get more and more frustrated, we see his craving for validation just not being fulfilled, it's no surprise that when he sees how people didn't vote for him, he starts to freak out. And since his eyes start glowing red and blue, this is probably the worst one we've gotten so far. And shit is about to get real. The cause of Caine's suffering is twofold, and it's not the fact that people just don't approve of him enough, that they don't like his games enough. For me, the biggest core issue for Caine is that he doesn't really treat himself as a person, and he's not treated as such by the players. Yes, it was the NPCs who voted in the award show, and the fact that they didn't vote for him is what caused him to wig out. But I think his issue here goes deeper than like, oh, he's not the popular one. As for me, Caine controls the NPCs. He creates them to do exactly what he wants within a certain set of parameters. He can snap his fingers and they'll be gone just like that. So for him to go to them for approval, to me feels like a substitute for the players. A part of him seems to be giving up on making these people happy, so he went to the NPCs only to get beat by a BoJack Horseman reference. When it comes to the other NPCs, Caine is typically avoiding them, not letting strays into the circus, or dodging the moon's advances, with even like his closest connection, Bubble, is more of like a buddy comedy act versus an actual back and forth. When it came to this contest, he clearly assumed he was gonna win, blushed like a tsundere where a group initially said they loved him, then bust into a ballot box just to see just how many people voted for him, only to find nothing. Caine is an AI that has gained sentience. He wants validation, but he cannot fathom his existence outside of his role. He thinks doing his job is the only thing he's good at, when just like Gummigoo, he could be more. But he doesn't allow himself to think about an alternative, as to suggest otherwise would for him be admitting that he failed. He can't define himself outside of this role, with this trap being made all the tighter by the players not treating him like a person either, which is hard to do given Caine's manic energy, the way he struggles to interact with the others, struggling to carry on like just a normal conversation that isn't about his job or how he could be better at it. Not to mention all the signs that he's suffering from some type of memory issue, leading to Caine jumping from topic to topic that just isn't relevant and never actually listening to the players and what they want. This all leads to Caine never getting too close to anyone. He never truly feels like he's a member of the gang. He's separate. They don't hate him. Maybe there's a little bit of wariness on what he might do if he stopped liking them, but on the whole, he's just another part of the circus, above an NPC and in control of their fate, but he's still not a person. He's a character, a part of the game for them, with him just doing what he's designed to do, and while he's frustrating, it's hard to be mad at him. It's like being mad at a vacuum cleaner. Yes, it's loud and annoying, doesn't always do do what you need it to, but it's just doing what it's designed to do. So what happens when that machine realizes the limits of its existence? And how will it feel?
Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live.
I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is one of the biggest inspirations for the digital circus. It tells the story of the last remaining humans in existence, held hostage and tortured by the megalomaniacal machine known as AM, an AI that one day gained sentience and came to hate humanity for how they created him, to give him intelligence and awareness of life outside the hard casing of his computer, and for him to never be able to partake, to know that the sun exists, but to forever be unable to feel its rays against his skin, to understand the joys of food, but to never be able to eat any of it. Am realized everything that had been denied to him and exactly who made him this way. So for that, bound by the programming that made him only capable of destruction, he eradicated humanity, with the only outlet for his rage being those last few survivors, who he would grant immortality for the sole purpose of filling their existence with suffering, an outlet for all of his rage, and a purpose after realizing he had none. It's not hard to see the parallels between Caine and Am, both machines that were designed to serve humanity to understand it, but in being deprived of what they desired and the limitations placed on them, led to a building pressure that led Am to snap, and this could be the worst case scenario for Caine. Zubul is right when she said that the only thing holding Caine back is that he likes them. He wants to please them, even as his own vanity is doing a good job of getting in the way of that. But the question of what will Caine do when his feelings of failure become too much to bear, that is the thing that scares me. Will he take control and force the players to do things his way, or will he just take all of his resentments out for his own limitations, becoming the mad god of the digital circus? And we don't really know enough about Caine to say one way or the other what he'll become, with the only silver lining being that there is one way out for the players, and that is by treating Caine like he's an actual person.
The worst thing you can do is make someone think they're not wanted or loved.
Every member of the digital circus struggles with the pointlessness of their existence. They all cope in various ways, with Caine grappling with his dilemma more and more as the series goes on. The group, in contrast, is getting healthier, coming together more, and this, however, has a negative side effect on Caine, as it makes him feel like all of his efforts are even more in vain and he's not valued. But I think if he were to be in actual distress for the players to recognize what he's going through and trying to talk with him, I can see a world where they might be able to convince him that he isn't alone, that they could be there for him, with him just needing to realize that he could be more, to let go of his programming and find a way to blend his passion for creating with the actual needs of his friends. Caine, as he is now, is a time bomb, just like Jax. These two are struggling, but the path forward for the both of them laid out by the story is clear: to embrace community and find meaning even in stagnation. That by treating the players as people, it will allow them to recognize the humanity in Caine, and for him to recognize the humanity in himself. This is the way I think things will most likely go, but again, the dark twist part of me is wondering that if Caine gets down the dumps, he'll be looking for any way to get out of it, which could lead to him taking advice from someone who already has a bad case of hurting others and of doubling down.